Hi, and welcome to this talk of empowering female leaders. I'm very pleased to have you here. We are doing these talks roughly twice a month, usually on a Thursday, where we meet with women from all over the globe to share different perspectives, empowering insights, and you will always get a lot of interesting takeaways that you can apply to your own life right away. And my name is Ulrike Seminati, and I founded this group in January to bring women together from really very different perspectives, because I think it's important to give us all a voice and to enrich actually our knowledge, our ideas, our mindset, and to give us this courage to really do what we want to achieve. You can ask questions during this talk. You can put your questions just in the comments, and we will pick them up either through the talk or at the end. And now I am very pleased to welcome Lena Perepelova, who is the founder of Women's Investors Club and of Fund Finance Virtual Business School for Kids. And Lena believes that understanding finance, business, and economics by the general public would diminish inequality. And today she will share with us what you can do to have a better finance strategy for your future, maybe for your retirement, and how women actually give themselves this confidence that they act upon it by themselves and that they achieve a future they want to have. So welcome, Lena. I'm very happy to have you here. Do you want to say a few words about yourself?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Ulrika, for inviting me. I feel very happy to be here and humbled that you invited me and to talk to your community. And as you already introduced, I have two initiatives on financial education. And one thing I love talking about understanding finance and why is it very important. And especially for women, I think with understanding finance comes more confidence and come more choices in life. And so that is why it's very, very important.
How did you come up with this topic, Lena? Because it is a role that is very specific, women in finance, and probably many women are aware that women in finance in general is very rare, be it at the corporate level, be it at a private level, what you do for yourself, and how much time we might spend on thinking about our finances, or maybe even less time that we spend on acting upon our finances, truly. How did you come up with your business idea of building the Women Investors Club?
Well, actually, my first business idea was teaching kids about finance, business, and economics. And that was because I realized that our educational system still doesn't teach this at all. And I wanted to fill that gap. And so then I created a program for kids. And while I was working with kids and trying to teach kids about finance and business, their mothers actually usually commented saying that, wow, I wish I learned it when I was a kid. And actually, I wish I could learn it now. Now, and just I was known for being able to explain finance in an easy way, since I can explain it to a child. So I was demanded and asked by women to teach them something about finance. So this initiative really came by demand of women. And also, as I'm very active investor, I realized that there is very little knowledge about investing. There are very few women who I can talk about investing. So I decided I will teach them first, and then I will have my community of women investors.
Yeah, that brings me to the next question, which is, why is there actually a challenge for women to invest? Because when I speak to women about finance in general or about money, I always realize also it's a bit of a taboo. It's something which we don't speak a lot. Or they tell me, yes, but when I go to whatever information sessions about finance, for example, or network events or something like that, there's always such a small part of women, maybe 5% of all the participants who come there are women. Why is it like that, in your opinion?
There are a few reasons, I think. One reason is that women underestimate importance of investing. Especially in Europe, investing is not seen as something which is essential, which it is, but something which which is very risky and which you might do to be rich. It's kind of like all or nothing game, which is nothing can be less than true, but this is one thing. And also women, they lack confidence to invest. There are studies about it. We women, we feel less confident to invest. It's not based on lack of our knowledge, but that's part of the overall confidence gap which we have as a woman. Now we are all a little bit perfectionists, and we believe that we have to know really a lot to start doing something, and that counts for investing.
What are the consequences of this behavior of shying back from truly spending time, truly reflecting and digging into the topic of investment and finance for women? What is the outcome of this in the long term?
Oh, well, the outcome is absolutely drastic. We already know about the pay gap. No? So as women, we earn a little bit less. We might take career breaks because we take care for our kids or for our relatives. We live longer lives than our partners, and we invest less or we don't invest. So all this accumulates to and counts that we will have much less wealth than men by the end of our lives. And lots of women, without even realizing it, might have problems to have enough means upon retirement, upon end of their retirement. So investing is a key element for growing wealth for retirement. We will be in retirement for 30 years. Imagine 30 years without income. Yeah, we're missing on this game, and we might feel very vulnerable when we are reaching the end of our lives.
Yeah, it's a true gap. And I think mentally we probably try to push this away or postpone it to later. And then we're getting into our 40s and suddenly we're getting into our 50s. And it's really, really getting late to start something and to build something without massively investing at one point. You said there's a confidence gap. I think this is a very important point here. And you also said there's a belief that finance is risky. What could be solutions to overcome these two thresholds, these two obstacles?
I think the way to overcome this would be to work on your confidence, be very proactive on working on your financial confidence. And that comes from building knowledge, having strategy, and having discipline, and doing something little steps at a time.
Mm-hmm. And the other belief about thinking that finance is risky?
I guess by human nature, if we don't know something, we already consider it as risky. Then today in financial industry, they have an obligation to have lots of legal disclaimers saying that you might lose your money. And so we see these disclaimers. And then we have a popular financial culture with movies about these guys, brokers who lost everything. So it is also a popular subject. It's not so popular to talk about positive things. So that's kind of the bad side of the finance we see in the news and in the movies. And we subconsciously probably even remember it.
Is there also maybe some kind of taboo in our society, especially in Europe, that we don't want to speak about money? Does this also stand in the way?
Well, I think in Europe in general, we have this built belief that as long as we have education and we have a good job and we work hard, then we will be provided for. And it is true for the former generations. Now, if we look at the generation of our grandparents, they had very nice state pensions, their employees provided good pension plans. So in Europe, we were fortunate to be provided by our governments and by the whole social system. So investing was not as critical for Europeans until now, but it definitely is very critical now.
Yeah, and I think the awareness isn't there, or it's probably something that we just don't want to see because it's a very uncomfortable thought when we when we have to actually break up with the belief, which is a positive one in this sense, that our systems will always save us, yeah, in a certain way. And this is maybe not the case in the future. And it's a logical demographic thing, actually, that this is coming upon us like a tsunami. And we kind of know it. It's written in the newspapers that we will have a gap here and it will not work out in the future with the pension funds like it did in the past. And nonetheless, it is always difficult to take these things in our own hands. Now, what could be a start for anyone, women or men alike, obviously, if they want to start to change their situation, to really take their finance in their own hands, build a financial future that is a long-term strategy? What are the first steps they can do?
Well, the first step would be to bring your finances in order. And there I actually would say understanding your finances, understanding your overall family economy. Actually, from what I know, very few people I even can say what percentage of their overall income they are saving. Majority of women I talk to have absolutely no understanding of their pension plans. No, they might have a pension plan with their employer. They might have a private pension plan with the bank, but they never really looked deep into it. They never looked at whether it would be enough for their retirement. They never check what the numbers. So just starting getting acquainted with your numbers and not shy away from numbers, because that's quite common. I also hear very common, finance is not my thing. And for me, you just cannot do this. No, it's so essential. Our financial health is essential. We know all that we have to be fit. We have to exercise. We have to take care of our nutrition. Well, take care of our finances is as essential. So you cannot just say it's not for me. It's very important. It's for everyone. So looking at your finances is the first step, and educating yourself would be a second step.
Mm-hmm. And when it's about educating yourself, I just want to say something to whoever listens to us here, because Lena is doing courses and she will launch one that starts in September, which is a 5 weeks online course, a live course, but online, where you will actually build a strategy and also a financial plan for your future. Now, if someone wants to build a strategy, it's like, oh my God, how can I build a strategy? I have no clue. There's so many things out there. I can invest into crypto, into shares. I can go to my bank and ask them for a plan. And maybe that's the safest thing to do because anyway, then I don't have to care about this. What would you recommend when it's about building a strategy? How can you imagine that? Because I can imagine, even for me, kind of, it sounds a little bit vague. It's like a concept which I can't grasp. Can you help us a bit to explain this?
Yes, of course. Well, first of all, one tip which I would say to begin with is very important to put finance in your weekly agenda. And if we all put in our agenda 15 minutes to 30 minutes of wealth management, and education will be part of it, so that's already a first step. No, because I think you start learning, you get overwhelmed, and then you will leave it, and then maybe 2 months later you will look at it, you will not remember. So be consistent. No, incorporate piece of learning every week. So that would be very helpful as well. Now that you have a plan and discipline to work on it little by little. Never Google investing. Yeah, because I think today Google, my kids say like, let's Google it. No, but okay, don't Google investing. There is a fantastic resource which is called Investopedia, like Wikipedia for investing. So if you just go into that resource, there you will learn really a lot about different financial assets and where to start investing. So there, if you look like investing for beginners, whatever you want to search inside there, you will find lots of educational videos. There are books on investing for beginners. But also I think it's important to join a community and be surrounded by people who also want to learn investing and who are doing the same thing. There are women communities around investing. Of course, I will invite to my community, investing is for women, but there are plenty of them. So it's important to have people to talk about it, to learn from, and to get support. Am I answering your question?
Yes. I found the comment, or your advice rather, not Googling investing, very interesting, because I bet that 95% of people would exactly do that first and maybe even last to get information. And we do that quite often. It reminds me about when you have any physical problem, never Google for medical advice, because that just gives you so much information, what sicknesses and illnesses and diseases you can have, that at the end you feel even more sick than before. And maybe on Google it's a little bit the same, that you get a lot of information which is just overwhelming, nothing's concrete, and at the end you're completely confused and come probably to the point that investing is not for you and that it's too complicated, and you push it again aside. So it's a very good point. Investopedia, I never heard of it, but I realize that I'm certainly one of these women who also, yeah, that's the strict minimum actually, to plan long time ahead, because I find it boring. Yeah, it's not something that I like. How can this become somehow more passionate for women? Do you have any experience? You have your own community, and there are many ladies in there who discuss about finance. Can you maybe describe a little bit what happens when you start to speak with others, to exchange ideas, knowledge, tips, advice, whatever is exchanged in this community? What happens to the person itself or herself when it comes to her mindset about finance in your community?
Well, what happens is, and I see it every time. I see it every time at the end of the course. I see it in the group. The moment women start understand it, now they understand what are the investment assets. They start understand a little bit financial jargon. There is this feeling of empowerment, no? And it's like, wow, I understand it. There is such a boost of confidence. You go to your bank and you're able to discuss things, and you're able to ask questions. You talk to somebody who says something which before you wouldn't even tune, you would kind of avoid listening because you don't understand what it's about. Today you pick up the words, you actually understand what is it about. It's so important. You feel confident, you feel empowered, and actually it's not so boring, because in investing we invest and we talk about businesses around us, because we are surrounded by businesses, and you kind of start making much more sense, the whole economic world around us. And learning economics and learning about it is really, really interesting. I'm biased, I know, but I do see it in women who would say it was not for me, that they really start getting excited and interested.
Let's come back to what you said earlier, that we should invest 15 to 30 minutes per week in our, did you say in our finance planning? And you said including education. It was also including education. Can you explain a bit more? If you say we have 30 minutes, what would we ideally, how do we spend these, more or less exactly?
Well, I have a name for it. I call it wealth management.
Yeah, that was it. Exactly.
And you have to put it in your agenda as wealth management. I think it's very important because it kind of emphasizes importance of it, and it is important, right? And this time would be split between doing some things around your finances, not doing these financial errands you never find time to do, looking at your credit cards, at your bank statements, canceling things and subscriptions which are there and which you want to cancel, you always forget. So first you kind of do things to maybe save a little bit money. Then you start thinking what to do with all your savings, because we have to realize that our savings are losing value. 1,000 euro we have today will be only worth 640 euro in 20 years. So it's huge. So any savings we have to grow, have to give us income. And then another part on education. So that's kind of three things: how can I save money, how I can earn money, and what I can learn.
What do you think about reading books about finance? Is this helpful?
I think it's helpful, yes. And I know lots of women who educated themselves from books. There are obviously different types of books, and depending on whether you are, I think getting knowledge is not necessarily that you will start investing. Then investing has kind of lots of hurdles which you have to overcome. But starting from reading books is useful and important.
So it's a nice mix actually in this half hour between, let's say, a normal management of what's going on with your credit card, with the current spendings and all of that. But on the other side, also educating yourself and taking decisions, certainly. Taking decisions of how you invest better or maybe a little bit more than before. And there's this part when I think about investing. We said in the beginning that there is a belief about finance is risky. Where does this belief, in your opinion, come from? And how do you help women to remove this belief?
Well, the only way to diminish risk is to diversify, or to say in a simple words, you never put all your money in all your eggs in one basket, right? Yeah. So investing is risky because some of your investments might not be successful and might be losing some money. But if you have different investments, it's pretty difficult to lose all your money at once. And also, what the stories we hear about financial managers who really go bankrupt, no, who suicide, and all these horrible stories, we have to understand that this is not regular people doing it. We were talking about people also borrowing money to invest. So that's another kind of game, and we shouldn't look at it. So investing, if there are enough strategies where you don't risk too much, and as long as it's long term, as long as you have a long term horizon, you don't have to lose money.
Yeah, exactly. It is this not freaking out when you lose the value of your shares or whatever you have invested 1 or 2 years after investing, and then just wait probably for a while. And maybe it's also about understanding the difference between short-term investments, mid or long-term investments, and some things, especially the risky ones, most of the time are long-term investments. That brings me to another point. If we don't like that, can we just take a consultant, a financial coach, go to our bank and just give it away and say, hey, this is the amount that I have per year, do whatever you want, make the best out of it you can, and then just leave this to someone else? Wouldn't that be a comfortable solution, to just give it to a professional?
It would be great, and the world would be such a wonderful place if it was so easy. And actually, one thing we need to understand and educate ourselves is what kind of returns we should be expecting. And lots of risk and lots of and losing comes from expecting too much. And so some people expect to double their money in 1 year. You cannot expect to double your money in 1 year. And if you try to do that, then you start doing risky things and you might lose it. If somebody can do it for you, you have to understand what the basics of finance to hire any financial professional. There is this a little bit of a misunderstanding that banks, they are like hospitals, but they're not. Banks are businesses, and they want to make profit for themselves, and they want to earn money for themselves. So they never pledged to take care of your financial health. Majority of bank employees are very successful salespeople, and they offer you products. And you have to be able to understand which products you will buy from them, because you are buying products from them. and what fees they charge you, and what returns you will expect. So it's not just going there and here are my money, please make me rich. Unfortunately, it's not working like this.
It's maybe we should see this then like if, for example, you hire someone in your team at your work, be it if you're an entrepreneur or in a corporate role, if you hire someone for your team, you delegate to this person, but before delegating, you are able to evaluate if it's the right profile, if it's the right fit, and you understand what this person is doing. Means when he or she is delivering on their projects, you can evaluate if this is good enough because you understand what they're doing. And I think this is what you're saying when it comes to when you work with financial advisors who are external people, that you cannot just give it away, something which is so important for your future or for your current life already, and just give it away to someone without understanding what actually you're giving away and without having any understanding if this person is doing a good or a bad job. And I think that's what I understood. And I think this is an important thing to understand, that it is we should see it as our own accountability totally. And even if we are not experts, we still can educate ourselves. And this brings me back to an important point, what you said before. We have to educate ourselves on this topic, no matter if you find it boring or if you're not passionate about it or we shy away. And maybe by digging deeper into it, it's something where, well, finally, we find it interesting and we probably find a few very exciting ways and exciting outlooks for our future. And the other thing which I liked very much is to join a community, because that makes a huge difference, obvious. If you do it all alone, I mean, you will give up very quickly. Maybe already you read a first book and after the first 20 pages, it's like, oh, yeah, it's not my thing. But if you do it with other people, it's different. It's a little bit like if you start doing sports or losing weight. It's great if you have a community who's encouraging you. That is why some certain companies, which I don't want to mention, work very well with this weight loss thing, because it's all based on community and on mutual motivation and encouragement and sharing experiences, and by this growing mutually. And this is something that maybe in finance is not happening often enough, at least not also in some female communities where we could do much more for ourselves in there. So, Lena, I thank you very much. Our time is already running and we are coming to the close to this talk. Is there maybe one last important message or one last thought that you want to share with the audience?
I just want to say to everyone that you know much more about finance than you think. You can do it for yourself. Just take some time and put it in your priority list. And have fun with it a little bit also. It doesn't have to be boring. It's interesting subject. Find fun people to do it with and enjoy it.
Thank you, Lena, for this last word. If people want to sign up for your training in September, how can they find you?
Well, we'll post a link to my website, but it's easy. It's womeninvestorsclub.com. And also I will share a financial health checklist for everyone who is watching this live. And so they can start to work on their finances already this month.
That is great. And I might maybe sign up myself because it can be helpful for me too. It's something I don't do these 15 to 30 minutes per week, and maybe I should really start doing this. So thank you. That was great insight. I would like to point out for everybody who watches this live or in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks even, Empowering Female Leaders, we are doing a summer empowerment initiative, let's say. And every week there is a 1-hour free training on something, different things like communicating with charisma, doing a game on self-confidence, and something that really works well with this topic. There is a money pulse check, which is happening usually on the last Wednesday of each month, now in the next 2 months, and where you will learn a lot about your beliefs about money. And I think this is quite interesting, especially when it comes on why you are not investing today to the full extent. So I thank to all the listeners, and I hope to see you in one of our upcoming talks. And if you want to find out more about the Summer Empowerment Program, you find it on empoweringfemaleleaders.com under Summer Empowerment. Thank you, Lena, and thanks to the audience, and I hope to see you soon.